Here are some important dates for Seattle's Japanese American community. December 7, 1941, the day Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, which marked the date when the United States entered World War II. February 19, 1942, when President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which provided the legal authority to relocate people of Japanese ancestry from the West Coast to American concentration camps. The date is commemorated each year on the Day of Remembrance. August 10, 1988, when, after a successful campaign for redress was mounted out of Seattle, President Ronald Reagan signed H.R. 422 into law, which provided monetary compensation to surviving internees and an apology for the incarceration. And on May 3, 2014, the Nisei Veterans Committee Memorial Hall in Seattle fulfilled a promise it had made to the community.
But today is a proud moment for the NVC Foundation in fulfilling a lifelong goal.
The Voices of Nisei Veterans exhibit, a collaboration of the Nisei Veterans Foundation, the Wing-Luke Museum, the National Park Service, and many volunteers, is a large and visible step to honoring the past by educating the future.
Which is our mission statement, where we want to honor the Niseis and to educate the future to make sure that their story is not lost. So everything that we're doing is trying to honor them.
The NVC Hall has been a gathering place for decades for Seattle's Japanese American community. Post-World War II, the second generation, or Nisei Japanese American veterans who fought in the war were not welcome into existing veterans organizations, so they created their own in a former Kendo Club studio on South King Street in Seattle.
Of course, at that time we had not much money, so we did a lot of work ourselves.
Tosh Okamoto, a vet who served with the highly honored and decorated 442nd Regimental Combat Team, saw the hall through the years as a place for family and community events. As time went on, the hall began to amass objects that would make up the first collection of artifacts. With the help of family and enthusiastic members, they created their first display in the Medal of Honor room.
And I've always been a World War II buff since I was a little kid, hearing my grandparents' stories of being in Europe and being occupied and all the struggles they went through. I was actually helping my wife, grandmother, move into assisted living. And so I was going through her stuff and putting it into boxes, and I found a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star and what looked like a casket flag.
Objects like these make up the display in the Medal of Honor room.
At first that museum was more for a conference room, and then we started getting all this stuff we had quite a bit of stuff that needed to be displayed, so obviously it's still too small because we got so much stuff in the storeroom yet that needs to be displayed. So that's the next step of doing something about it.
Since the launch of the Voices of Nisei Veterans exhibit, all that stuff has developed into an expanded exhibit that aims to tell more of the story of the Japanese American community. In the multi-purpose room downstairs, there are photographs of the Japanese American community pre-war.
Well, this section here is supposed to kind of give people an idea of what Seattle was like before the war. For instance, when the Japanese immigrants first came to this country, there weren't a lot of opportunities open to them. They weren't allowed to live wherever they wanted to, so of course that was the formation of Japantown.
And one room over, another conference room, is the beginnings of a collection of artifacts from camp.
For the incarceration room, of course, we're trying to collect artifacts from things that were collected, built in the internment camp. Like Louise Cashino's scrapbook of her dance cards that she collected in camp. It's like a lot of people probably don't even realize that they had dances during camp.
Kevin Furukawa, whose grandfather Moss is a military intelligence service veteran, got the opportunity to reflect on the significance of the hall and the story of his family.
Now I ask myself, what does NVC mean to me and future generations to come? It means family. Be it literal or not, everybody who has been part of the hall's journey has developed our community following the precedent set by the Nisei. They have exemplified the very definition of community and blur its line with family.
It's really fun to see it take off. It's kind of turning into one giant museum. All the big blank walls are starting to get filled in with pictures and stuff.
The hall has now truly expanded from its vital role as a community hub to an important historical museum.
I just say it's an interesting history. It's got great story and many life lessons. So it's worth the read, it's worth the study. I really wish that this place becomes like a must visit when coming to Seattle, so people can learn about this stuff, and maybe this place can flourish and maybe become a Wing Luke museum or something like that, and also half community center that it's always served its purpose in.
Watch CityStream Thursday nights at 7 on the Seattle Channel, or get video on demand and podcasts anytime at seattlechannel.org.